Have you ever done the online dating thing and gotten burned? This is Dr. Nic and Professor Mike with Divine Guidance Institute. And the last podcast was so well received on the dating experiment and intuition, signs, and dreams. People wanted to hear more. They wanted to hear more about it. We're going to go deeper.
Some tips on internal guidance. Who hasn't been blindsided in dating? And 80% of the people, statistically, 80% of the people lie on their online dating profiles. So I think most of you have run into that before.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yeah?
Absolutely. Even if it's not online dating, just dating in general, because you never know what you're going to get. And how do you know? And how can you be prepared? And that's what we're going to get into today, because you have tools, you have guidance you don't even know, you're not even aware of. Yeah.
And do you need it every day? Somebody looks good, walks good, talks good, and then 30 days down the way, you find out that that was simply an outer appearance and you can't trust it. And that's the way I've found everything is these days. God knows I need some internal guidance to keep me on that road so I don't get, blindsided again. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. So last podcast, it was primarily about, one of our peeps, and she uses this system. Been working with her a long, long time. So she uses this system daily without thought. It's just on autopilot, which is how it is for everybody. But she's aware of every dream, every gut feeling, every sign, and knows how the system works. So she was going to go on this date. She wanted to go on this date. And so we're talking, right? And she says, hey, I met this guy online and he asked me out. So I think I'm going to go. So we talk it through. And she says, but it ain't looking good. I said, well, what's up? She says, well, the first thing he did, he mentioned a restaurant. Let's go to this restaurant. And it's my least favorite restaurant. I hate this restaurant. And I'm not even going to say the name because I don't want to diss the restaurant. But anyway, so the minute he said, let's go eat at this restaurant, I knew it wasn't going to be good. It was a sign, immediate sign. But I stayed cool. She stayed cool. And she said, yeah, okay.
What else? Did she have anything else? Any other?
She had 4 messages in 10 hours. This is how crazy this was. 4 messages of do not go on the date. Don't go in 10 hours. The first one was the restaurant. Then the second one was obviously her gut saying, don't do it. You know better. Then a few hours later, her girlfriend, her best friend, says, wait a minute. That's the name of my ex-husband. That's the name of my ex-fiance. This is a sign. You know it's a sign. Don't go. So, okay. And then that night she has a dream.
Another sign, a dream. Dreams can be signs. All right.
She has another dream. She has a dream. And in the dream, there's a stray dog out, and she's feeding the stray dog, right? That's the whole dream. Well, the message is really obvious. Don't give your nourishment, don't give your time and energy to something that doesn't belong.
So you're saying the message was don't hang out with strays.
I love it. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's beautiful. Don't hang out with strays. Yes. So she had these 4 messages in 10 hours, signs, dreams, gut feeling.
So what I'm wondering is did she follow the signs and the dreams and the message?
No, she didn't. So
and what happened?
So we're on the phone and we're talking it through. And, I'm pointing out this sign, this gut feeling, this interpretation. And I said, so here it is. I said, do you want to go? And she says, yeah. I said, okay, then here we go. The messages are telling you not to go. Don't bother. But you really want to go because you're bored. She said, yeah, that's right. I said, okay, cool. So here's how we're going to do this. You can do one of 2 things. You can go and see it as an experiment, right? You know what the messages told you, the guidance, don't go, don't do it. So you can do the experiment, which I highly recommend. You do an experiment because it builds your confidence and it builds the muscle of using these tools because you see how it turns out. Then you realize it was accurate. It was on the money. It was a warning and it was pure guidance. And then you build your confidence that way. So I'm all about the experiment. But I also said, regardless, if you want to go because you're bored, so you want to have fun, make sure you stay in the truth. You were already told, don't do this. You were already told this is not the guy for you. Stay in the truth about it. Go out, have fun. Do not date for more than 30 days. At 30 days, emotions kick in. It gets sticky. It gets messy. And then our feelings get hurt. Then you start wondering, oh my God, why didn't he text? Why didn't he call? What's he doing? You didn't even know this person existed 30 days ago. So it's such bullshit, you know? So there's a 30-day rule that it should absolutely be followed. So anyway, I said, so you can do the experiment, but keep it with that 30-day rule. So that's what she decided to do. So she goes out, they go to not that restaurant. They did pick a different restaurant. Okay. Anyhow, she said they had a pleasant, decent time. But she knew right off in the first, on that date, she knew it wasn't going anywhere. She knew they weren't right for each other, even though they had a good time.
Right.
She just knew by the vibe, you know. So
that makes sense. So you're saying it's okay to test it. In other words, if you want to test the system of dream signs intuition as an ancient way of knowing whether to follow the messages or not, go ahead and violate the messages. Don't follow them and see what happens. And keep track of it. And that way, and I agree with that because, you know, in my life, looking back, things I learned the most from were the things I got burnt and I had an experience that was pretty dramatic. And then I knew, and I knew not to do that again or go down that road again. And I would have drifted down the road had I not had a really dramatic experience with it. So
nice.
Test it.
Absolutely. That's how you know that. And that's how you come into full knowingness.
Right.
You have a dream, you have a sign, you know, a gut feeling, and you see the outcome. Then you go, oh my God, it was on the money. It was accurate. And then you're like, oh, there's something to this. And then you test it again. You have another experience. You know, when I was, you know, on the mountain, my mountain experience, which we're not going to get into, but all I'm going to say is this. I was so uncertain that I tested it for a year. I asked to be shown a sign of confirmation every waking hour for an entire year. So you can test the shit out of this stuff. And, you know, it's based on quantum, it's based on science, and you are the sign, essentially. It's your interactive universe, you know, and we'll get into that in another podcast, the spiritual laws behind all of this, the mechanics.
Yeah, you'll enjoy that too, because there's 7 laws, quantum physics level, that really connect and activate your divine guidance knowing system, your internal guidance, and it shows you how they work mechanically in everyday life. And that's what's cool. This thing runs, like Nikki said, it runs 24/7. It's always there, and it's guiding us. And you know, we get it while we sleep, but we're really not asleep. We're dreaming, which means we're getting messages from the other side within us. Actually,
Nice.
It's within us.
Yeah.
And it's there 24/7. It's interesting because people today don't even know the system exists.
No.
And thousands of years ago, every main society, every emperor, every ruler, everyone followed dream signs and intuition. It was a big deal. For example, an Egyptian pharaoh had a dream about a famine coming, and he wasn't able to interpret the dream himself. He didn't know it was a famine, and he asked his advisors, God, is there anybody who can interpret the dream? And they got a guy they said, yeah, well, there's really a good guy, but he's in prison in a lockup. And the hero said, what the hell? I don't care. Go get him. They brought, and it was Joseph. And it's a well-known story. It's a biblical story.
Yeah, well, tell the
he
story.
interpreted the dream for the Pharaoh. Pharaoh was able to store extra supplies. So when the 7-year famine hit, everyone still had food in Egypt. Had it not been for the dream and interpreting it, the Pharaoh would not have been able to assist the country and sidestep getting blindsided. And Joseph interpreted the dream for him like that. And it's like, whoa, that's what went on then. And now we don't even know. Things have changed so dramatically. And that's why we're here to deliver, you know, the message once again. Follow your internal guidance system. It's automatic. It's free. It runs 24/7. It's there for you. Pay attention to the signs, dreams, and intuition, because they are, you know, and in my own life, I mean, little things every day, you know, don't get on the freeway and it looks clear to me, but 5 miles down, I would have been sitting there for 2 hours. Did I follow my gut feeling or not? But it could be big things also. In Vietnam, I showed up in Vietnam, got off the plane, I was in artillery, been trained in artillery, and I met a captain within 48 hours. I switched over to the infantry. I got a deal. He said, why don't you come with me and blah, blah, blah. And everybody screamed, "Oh my God, Mike, are you crazy? You're going into your life expectancy goes down to 1 day. Otherwise, artillery, you're at a fire base, you're
Mhm.
protected." And it saved my life because I had a dream. I had a strong gut feeling to follow what the captain was saying, switch over. So it actually literally, without getting into it, it saved my life. So it can be something really that dramatic and that important. Pay attention. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You did just the opposite of what the mind said to do.
Yes.
And that's that higher level of knowingness that you only get when you can't hear it all. I mean, it's 24/7, but you got to be quiet. You got to be quiet so you can identify it. Not so you can hear it, but so you can identify it, you know?
And listening and, yeah, that's a really good point. Listening. I mean, how often do we listen? We
Mhm.
tend to chit chat constant and we're on our phone looking at the little world and then we're doing other stuff that really is noise and we're not listening inwardly to that voice that's speaking and that feeling that's coming in. So we can and you want to, it's a good experiment. Test it. When you get that gut feeling, just test it. Don't do it. Go down the opposite road and then see what happens. We always get our butt kicked and that's when we learn.
And, to keep it with dating, the little self wants what it wants, and it goes by those outer appearances, as you
Mhm.
mentioned. Somebody looks good and they got, this decent profile, but soul, your higher self, knows you have all the answers within. You see everything ahead of time. And once you start tracking your data, pay attention to the sign, the dream, the gut feeling. Don't act on it, but track your data and see the outcome. And then raises your comfort level. And then you start living by these other means. You do your homework because you're practical, but to go into the next level of knowingness or confirmation, you use those other tools.
How do you track your data? Like, what would you recommend for doing that? It's like,
We gotta log it. You gotta
okay,
write it down.
journal, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't like the word journal. It sounds lightweight, "Oh, I journal." I mean, and journaling's great, but I just don't like the word journal. It's tracking your data. It's
Mhm.
much more than
Okay.
that. You give it the date, you get what you got, you write it down, and you see the outcome. Dream tracking is actually it's in our Trust Yourself book, and you go back every quarter and you review your
Right.
your journal, your dream journal, if you will. And you see all the data that you received, and then you see how life played out. And what you'll find out is yeah, that 90% of everything was revealed to you ahead of time. You talk about, the Ouija board or the tarot or the psychic or the dowsing or, any of those means for prophecy. It's like, no, 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 no. It's A, that's putting it outside of
Mhm.
yourself,
Right.
right? And B, those things, you're giving away your power. Okay. You're giving away your power when you use any of those things. And it lets in negative energy, lets in negative vibes, lets in negative
Mhm.
entities. Okay. But not only that, you don't need any of those things because this is all on autopilot. It's a perfect system that's built into our consciousness, it's built into our biology. So, first thing is to be aware of it. The
Mhm.
second thing is to track your data. Don't make life and death choices. Just track your data, just notice things. And don't talk about things either. You just notice things and keep things to yourself. There's a spiritual law of silence which should be followed all the time because you're really in a laboratory. You're in your own spiritual laboratory, figuring these things out. And you don't need anybody else's input.
That's really different and interesting, that you mentioned that. You don't need input, which is saying don't look outwards all the time
Hmm.
because all the experts, the gurus, the doctors, the Scooby Doos, they're all going, and how's that work for you? Everybody's still getting sick, dying, blindsided.
Hmm.
And it's like, do they have the answer? Obviously not. Well, where is the answer? Stop looking outward, look inward.
Hmm.
It's a total opposite. It's a reflection. Look inward, look in the mirror and look inward. There's the truth. It's so well hidden that nobody remembers it or even knows that they have that internal guidance system within them and it's pure truth for them.
And it is. And let's close with this story here because this is perfect. Me meeting you. Okay. This is when I was what? I don't know, 24 when we met. We've been together over 30 years, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. The minute Michael walked into the classroom as my sociology instructor, I knew he was the one. Okay. The bells went off. The voice inside, internal, was screaming, he's the one, soulmate. You're going to marry the guy, blah, blah, blah. Now, keep in mind, he's twice my age and he's my teacher. These things mentally, at a societal level, these are taboo. You don't do these things. You don't date your teacher. You don't date someone twice your age, right? Okay. So, but I knew what I knew and I could not express it or convince anybody, nor did I try. I did run home. I told my roommate, Heather, I'm going to marry this guy in a heartbeat. She thought I was nuts. Okay. So from that moment on, I told no one. I told no one about this. Then after the semester ended, I asked you out. Again, girl asking a guy out. And this is 30 years ago. This is like total taboo. And you're twice my age. And you were my teacher. So mentally, it was a no-no. Okay. And had I told anybody, I would have gotten the opposite feedback. Don't do it. Are you nuts? Blah, 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 blah. But I knew to be quiet. I knew we had a mission. I couldn't convince anybody of it.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell anybody about it, but I knew what I knew and I knew to stay quiet. And that really allowed me to navigate. So then we could come together and be successful and not have everybody else's input. We even eloped. We didn't even tell anybody.
Nope.
After, we went on our first date and then we were engaged in 90 days, married in 9 months, and we eloped. Didn't tell anybody. So you talk about, following the law of silence.
And following that inner guidance,
Yes.
which led to a whole mission, changed our goals, our life. We now have a mission together and 30 years together. If we had started talking about it
To other people.
the pushback would have been so
my
great
God.
that we would have gone, well, maybe they are right.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. And we would have been sitting on the side of the road, blindsided one more time.
So it's important to not talk about your stuff about when you're experimenting, when you're in your spiritual laboratory, when you're learning and using these tools, not to talk, not to share. You can confirm it, use the tools and see the outcomes. And then you learn, inwardly on your
That's right.
own. Yeah. So
And if I had one tip, if I had to summarize it, because I get it all the time anyway. Even at the gym, I go to the gym every day and run. People come up to me, Mike, I got a question. How do I know? I'm getting ready to retire and I don't really I want to keep doing something. How do I know what to go into, what career? I'm thinking about moving to LA, but I'm not sure of that. Oh my God, am I going? And, my advice is this, and it's the same to you that I give at the gym, look in the mirror. You already have the answer. You are the truth, the path, the light, and the way. Just be silent and ask inwardly, what's the answer? And it'll come in a soft whisper, a nudge, a sign. You'll have a dream. That's it. And that's how it works. And it has run forever, 24/7. You can access it. So there you go.
And there is one technique, and you guys know what it is. If you've listened to us at all, you know what the technique is, but we cannot close a podcast without sharing the technique for anybody new listening. It's the HU, HU. The short version is called One Step Therapy. Just say HU. The intensive version is called One Magic Word. It's an 8-week experience. But the bottom line is the technique is this. HU. HU. It comes from the word human. It's in the Oxford English Dictionary. It really stands for God within man. That spark within you, okay? That divine wisdom within you. And that's what it activates at a vibrational level. You'll feel it. You'll feel it. So don't take our word for it. Experiment. We can't say it enough.
Try it.
Do it out loud or silent, eyes open or closed, for 1 to 20 minutes a day and see what happens. Bottom line, it's going to turn up the volume on your higher self. It's going to turn up the volume on your discernment, on your knowingness, on, your dream recall and your gut feeling. It's going to turn up. It's multifaceted. So it does a lot all in one. And you don't even need to program it. Just do it and it figures it out. because again, it's resetting your internal signal. Your internal signal gets reset by doing the hue.
And it's the key for activating the system that we're
Yeah.
talking about. When you hue, you just turn your system on.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
if you're saying, "What, Mike, I don't remember my dreams and
You will.
my gut feelings, I'm not sure about," turn that on. And like Nick said, the volume will go up. You'll
Yeah.
hear all that and know that. And that is your salvation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely experiment. Don't forget to subscribe and share and check out the Mystery School, Divine Guidance Institute Mystery School. We are a nonprofit. Survive by your donations. Then we've got the do-it-yourself version if you don't want, you're not ready to enroll. And of course, we have, coaching and all of this. But, check out the website, divineguidanceinstitute.org, and shoot us an email, subscribe and share, and experiment. Experiment with the hue and experiment with your dreams and your signs, your intuitions. Track your data. Send us your stories. And hey, we'll talk soon.
Yeah. And remember, dream on.